something to prove. You know that I wanna lose. Yeah, gonna leave this here. This right here gonna be that year. Yeah, that's too sincere. I don't really think I could be that clear. I'ma be right here, but y'all know that. Wanna feed my fist, try to hold me back. Y'all do that, try to hold me down. Karma is real and it's coming around. Yeah, we done came through it all, and we ain't backing down, no. We rising up. We rising up. Yeah, now look it up. We rising up.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Take Me Out to the Video Game, a podcast about baseball video games. Today we are taking a look at the deep dive and feature premiere for MLB The Show franchise mode, which I gotta be honest with you, I'm nervous about. I'm nervous about this every year because every year they make promises that they don't keep for franchise mode. So I'm going to be approaching this with cautious optimism, but also taking it with a grain of salt. And like I said, it's just hard for me to get my hopes up for this mode year after year when we're promised stuff and then not delivered. So, but enough about that. Let's just dive right on into it, and hopefully it's good this year. Hold up one second before we continue this video. I just want to say thank you guys so much for getting me well past my goal. I put out a call to action a little bit ago on this channel to get me to 50 subscribers by the end of the month, and you guys did so amazing by blowing me well past that to the tune of 200 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough. I love this little community that we're building here, and let's continue to grow. The new goal I'm thinking is 500 by the All-Star break, so let's get started. If you like what we're doing here, like and subscribe. But thank you guys so much for getting me to where we're at. Again, this community that I'm building is absolutely amazing. Let's continue with the video.
MLB The Show fans, we've heard your feedback, and we're providing a play-by-play of what's new in franchise mode and March to October. Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Flores, and welcome to Fielding Feedback, your MLB The Show 25 deep dive. Today, we're talking franchise mode and March to October. Let's get started. New in MLB The Show 25, franchise and March to October, step into the evolution of realism and fun with our all-new off-season experience. In the world of baseball, it's not just about what happens on the field. It's also about what happens in the boardrooms, the front offices, and the endless negotiations. The new front office experience introduces a revitalized free agency system. Innovative risk-reward elements add strategy, immersion, and excitement to the pursuit of the top free agents each offseason. Choices matter, consequences are real, and time is precious. So choose your free agent pursuits wisely. Up next, free agency, a marketplace of ambition. With the updated logic, your negotiations aren't just based on stats anymore. The motivations of your targets are now front and center. Top free agents set the offseason pace, and big markets lead the charge. Certain free agents are market setters. Once they sign, they have a domino effect on the rest of the market. Teams that try to pounce early can earn an advantage. Beware, though. Offer a contract that insults a free agent, and they'll be less interested in signing with you. Introducing the Big Board, the blueprint for your offseason. It's not just about who's available, it's about who fits. You'll have to decide which free agents to prioritize. Each week is an opportunity to increase their motivation to sign with your team. Be careful, though. Waste too much time on a free agent, and you could miss other chances to fill a hole on your roster. Free agents will be motivated by team quality, positional competition, and their skills matching the team's needs. If a free agent is blocked at their position, they're less likely to be motivated to sign with you. As the GM, you'll decide when the time is right to offer a contract. Offer a deal too soon, and the free agent's motivation may not be high enough. Offer too late, and another team may swoop in and steal your target. A mystery team might even be lying in wait to spring an offer. Occasionally, a free agent may come back to give you a last chance opportunity before signing. Free agents may also reach out to you. Use these unexpected opportunities to fill holes with players that want to be a part of your organization. At MLB The Show 25, free agent contract demands are more realistic than ever before. players will demand salaries and terms comparable to what you see in real life. This year, we've updated the max salaries for players with new contract logic that will lead to much more realistic salaries. Sometimes to sign that prize-free agent, you'll have to overspend. Remember, though, an emotional decision can hamstring your franchise in the future with an untradeable contract. More accurate arbitration figures will reflect true-to-life values with all new logic. Salaries will be more reflective of the player's value to the team. If the team and player can't come to an agreement, a hearing will decide the player's salary. We've redefined how trades, prospects, and contracts come to life, introducing a new layer of realism that will shape your journey as a GM. It's no longer just about who you can acquire. It's about what you can't afford to miss. Prepare for an evolved trading experience with updated logic, smarter decisions, and more opportunities for your franchise to take that next step toward greatness.
Now batting.
John Shambi and Chris Singleton return to the show in 2025 to lead our commentary team.
Cuts and misses, it's a strikeout. They had him out in front, which isn't easy to do.
We've also added Adrian Roberson
Leading off for the Orioles, the shortstop, Gunnar Anderson.
and Rennell Brooks Moon
Leading off for the Reds, shortstop, Ellie Deladruz.
as new public address announcers to supplement Alex Miniak. There are so many exciting new features in franchise in March to October, and we can't wait for you to check it out. This is Robert Flores. Look for the next episode.
Whoa, Roflo. Let's not forget, we have redesigned franchise intros to include an all-new flow that brings stories from your franchise to life. Game matchup information, league stories, and minor league reports have been added to the entry flow so that you can keep up with everything that is happening in the season. Also, we've added a wide variety of topics such as Rookie of the Year candidates, league news, standings, and much more that play throughout the in-game experience. Okay, that's all I got. Coach out.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Fielding Feedback, coming soon.
So I have a couple of thoughts here. First of all, on the surface, this all seems great, right? Like, if the trade logic is improved and if this free agent logic thing works, and I say if because it is a big if. They've promised us stuff like this in years past and it just hasn't worked, and then they don't fix it because during the season they prioritize things like Diamond Dynasty, and I get it, that's their cash cow. But I'm excited for everything that they just announced. Everything that I just heard sounds great. If it works. And I'm going to say that because that is key. The key word is if it works. Because like I said, in the past, sometimes it hasn't. And that's unfortunately something that I can't comment on until I have my hands on the game in a few weeks, which we will. We'll deep dive really into some franchise stuff on the channel here. So like and subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. But this all could be really, really good. On the flip side, if it doesn't work, it could be really bad. The presentation stuff all seems really cool. The one thing that worries me, though, is like they seem to be trying to reinvent the wheel, which I understand a lot of people want. Like, right? A lot of people want a brand new franchise mode because the mode has been so broken. I'm going to push back against that a little bit. I want the little things to work. There are 3 very little tiny things in franchise mode that if I had these 3 things available to me, I really wouldn't care about anything else. First off is 3-team trades, plus maybe the ability to trade cash. Second is full rosters, right? Like we have I think 93 players in MLB 24 on your entire roster. There's 4 levels of minors and the majors. So just expand that to, 130, I think would be the roster size. 26 times 5. So yeah, 130. Just expand it. Give us the full 130 roster. I don't need the AA games to be playable. Right? I don't need the 2 single A games to be playable. Just give me those roster spots so I can make a full authentic roster and really build players through the minor leagues. And then the last thing, of course, is customizable draft classes. Like, they gave us this really cool draft thing a few years back, and it works well. I like it. But I'm someone, like, I start at the beginning of my franchise, and I take such painstakingly care to make sure that there are no fake players in my franchise. And then immediately with the draft, I get fake players. And I understand that's going to be inevitable at some point, especially if you play multiple years into a franchise. But I would like customizable draft classes so I can at least tweak things to be a little bit more realistic. So maybe that's a thing that needs to be added. Like, again, I'm going to withhold judgment until I have my hands on the game, and we'll see. Maybe there's going to be some things that they talk about in the feature premiere that weren't in this deep dive. So let's check out that feature premiere.
Oh yeah, it's franchise time. I am joined by Tim and Clayton. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited to show off what we've been working on this year. I think people are going to be really excited.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff, but Clayton, how are you doing today?
Tim, they've let us out of our cages. We're ready to talk franchise. Let's go.
Let's go.
Before we dive in, Tim, can you remind our fans what you do on the franchise team?
Yeah, actually, I'm one of the game designers here on the franchise team. I'm also a former community member, so I'm here to give a little experience from the community perspective.
Hey, we love community members on this squad. Clayton, what do you do on franchise?
I'm a senior designer here, and he and I have kind of taken ownership over franchise the past few years, and our aim is to get it where the community wants it, and we're excited.
I know everyone's so excited for everything new coming to franchise and MLB The Show 25. Clayton, what's new this year?
Well, Carson, in franchise and MTO, the new front office experience introduces a revitalized free agency system with risk-reward elements that add strategy, immersion, excitement to the pursuit of top free agents. There's layer upon layer of depth, you know, and it's a streamlined format. Choices matter, consequences are real, time is precious, and really you have to choose your free agent pursuits wisely.
So you're going to be thinking about free agency totally differently in franchise this year, thanks to Clayton and Tim. We're excited to get into it. Where do we start, Clayton? Where do we start, Tim? Can you talk us through what you're going to see right off the jump, right when off-season starts?
Well, I want to cover one thing first. I know that in March to October, we introduced a free agency system 3 or 4 years ago. It was well received. And while there are some similarities, we still have the big board. We love the big board. Some of the screens have some similarities, but there's different elements on the screens. There's different functionality on the screens. There's new screens. And what I think the community is really going to love is just an immense amount of depth that's going into the logic. You know, it's like, so basically, this is not that. The logic in this new iteration of free agency blows the other out of the water.
What Clayton mentioned, the depth is immense. And we're sim designers. We're looking to have a simulated experience, but we're also looking at fun in this game. And what you're going to find here is that this is going to be a fun atmosphere, a fun experience in the off season.
So it sounds like Tim and Clayton, you all spent a lot of time and effort into revamping franchise for this year, and we have an awesome list for our fans to hear and for us to get through in this episode. So Clayton, let's start it off with the expanded signing motivation logic. What is it?
Yeah, it's very important of us to add a lot of depth to this feature. We didn't just want to like repackage what we had done in March, October previously. So there's a lot of under the hood stuff that we're excited about, and the community hopefully will be excited about as well. When it comes to expanded signing motivation logic, there's new position competition logic. It's a lever that you can pull. Essentially, if you have a shortstop who's a really good shortstop, and there's a free agent that's a shortstop, he's going to have less motivation to sign with your team because you already have a star player at that position. But it's a lever you can pull. If you really want that free agent, you can trade away your shortstop, and his motivation to sign with you will go up. There's also, we're kind of calling it some signing eagerness logic. Essentially, there's going to be top free agents that are, you know, they want to sign early. They don't want to risk missing out on anything, so they want to sign as soon as free agency opens. And conversely, there's going to be other free agents that are happy to let the market play out and see how the off season goes, and they're willing to sign later in the off season.
No, that's awesome. I'm hearing that we have new player encouragement to join your team depending on who may or may not be blocking them positionally. And then, of course, earlier in the offseason, you're able to sign free agents to avoid kind of sticking out into that arbitration area or close to the spring training time frame. It sounds great. I know our fans are ready to rock and roll once they hit the offseason in their franchise. But Tim, anything else you'd like to add here?
Yeah, and these are some of the features that we added in this year that help with some of the underlying issues that we've experienced in the past. One of them was positional stacking in the offseason. This new positional competition logic really reduces that. So no longer are they looking to sign 3, 4 shortstops that are high quality. Just like real life, players are going to go where they're needed and where they're wanted.
That's great to hear. I mean, I'm just, from a fan perspective, having stuff that makes this feel realer than ever before is definitely going to be a really nice addition to the show 25.
Yeah, I think the key too is that they're actionable, right? Like you can take action to clear a block at a position if you're really, chasing a free agent that you covet, So in the past, even in different iterations, you couldn't really do this. So now as a user, you can take action to do this.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. You're adding depth, you're adding action, you're letting the player decide how they want to run things. If you want that shortstop in free agency, you might need to clear room in that position, which is awesome. I mean, moving on, we have a ton of other stuff that you're going to see in the new franchise free agency. Let's talk more about the expanded last chance opportunities logic. Tim?
So this is something that's new for us. We have never had this in the game in the past. And what this is an opportunity for us to experience that back and forth between the GM and the player. So for an example, you may have an opportunity, you reach out, you're working a free agent, and they circle back to you for one last chance and maybe give you an opportunity to get that final bid in before they make a decision one direction or another.
That sounds amazing, Tim. I know our fans are going to love to experience the little back and forth with the agents throughout the free agency process. But Clayton, anything else you want to add here?
I mean, that was key with us. I mean, March to October when we introduced it, contract decisions in free agency were pretty much immediate. Now they drag out into the next week, and like Tim mentioned, there can be this back and forth where you offer a contract and their agent's going to come back to you and say, hey, I'm about to sign elsewhere. Do you want to try and give me a better offer? So we love that. It's more immersive, and it's going to hopefully please everybody.
Absolutely. And then speaking of the back and forth, the immersiveness, as much as we all have a plan as we head into the free agency, into the off season, there's a little bit of something added here with mystery teams and misdirection for our free agents. Clayton, can you talk a little bit more about the new Fog of War rumor system?
Yeah, the Fog Wars with the rumors, it existed in the original iteration March to October, but in both franchise and March to October now, there's misdirection with rumors, there's mystery teams, there's the ability to clear the fog, but sometimes even if you do clear the fog, you're not going to get the true answer. There's still going to be that misdirection there. There's like some pieces of information that you just aren't able to find out. So it's going to add a wrench, like you said. It's going to make it more interesting. It's going to make it more challenging. And bottom line, it's going to make it more fun. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and we're going to see all this in real person live after this pre-record. We're so excited for you guys to get your hands on some of these awesome features in free agency. We still have a ton more to get through. Tim, Clayton, the rival rumor opportunities. When I heard about this, I got really excited. Poaching another team's marquee free agent. Tim, talk to me about this.
So when we first originally started this design, one of the things is we wanted to simulate that offseason, and I love the hot stove, and this is where it really sets up for us. And as a Yankee fan, there's nothing that's more irritating than see the Red Sox swoop in and take one of your players. And this is one way that we could simulate that for us. As you play the game the off season, you're going to notice that there's going to be division, historic rivals that are close to signing a free agent. You're going to have the opportunity to jump in and try to poach that free agent away from them.
Yeah, it almost hits too close to home being a Nats fan, watching some of our great players go to some division rivals.
Yeah, Tim, you're feeling this in real life. You see Alex Bregman signing with the Red Sox, Juan Soto signing with the Mets. But Clayton, what do you have thoughts here for?
You mentioned Bregman. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a Rangers fan. So when it comes to these rival rumors, You know, if one pops up and the Astros are about to sign someone, even if I'm moderately interested, I'd rather break the bank than let them go to the Astros. So it makes it fun. It's kind of one of those things where it pops up in the last second. You may have to, you know, change your strategy, change how you approach the off season. But again, it's immersive and it really gets you into it.
I love just giving the players opportunities to do what the real GMs are thinking, right? Like all this depth you guys keep talking about is going to be really, really special in free agency.
I mean, at minimum, it's like, okay, hey, maybe I can drive their price up, you know, and make Houston pay more in the example of being a Rangers fan. So it's fun.
And then speaking of opportunities, some opportunities will be on stalemate, if you will, with the new market setter logic, Clayton. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, the market setters every offseason, you know, there's big names that essentially prevent other players from signing. For example, say like a Vladdy makes it to free agency, he could hold up the entire market at first base until he signs, you know, because people want to know, they want to, you know, maintain their budget until Vladdy signs, and then once he's gone, then maybe they go to plan B or plan C. So we have some inherent logic in there that essentially drives this within our new free agency system.
That was one of the big things that we really wanted to simulate this year too, was, you know, that one driving person on the market where they're going to change everything for us. Soto is an example where the right fielder is out there, top of the line player, where they go dictates where the rest of the players in that position are going to fall.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And like you said, I mean, we see it in real life every offseason. There's some marquee free agent and everyone wants to wait and see what team he goes to and for how much money. So having that new market setter logic is just going to make this franchise mode feel even more real. That's not the only thing. With the new market setter logic, we also have big market logic. And I remember hearing about this, and it's really exciting stuff. Clayton, let's talk about it.
This is pretty straightforward, but in real life, you know, the big markets kind of lead the charge on the top free agents. It's not realistic per se to have like the Kansas City Royals or some of these other small market teams pursuing the Sotos, pursuing potentially Vladdy, pursuing other big names. So this logic's kind of baked in. It was important for us to have this. It makes it more realistic. So that's what that is.
Yeah, this sounds to me, Clayton, that like the big market teams are going to be the ones that are going to pick up some of these high caliber players like your New York Mets grabbing that Juan Soto. But Tim, what else do we have here?
We wanted to set the market here for the big markets to drive the free agency, and just like in real life. And we've seen it ourselves. We have not liked the way things have worked in the game in the past, where some of the smaller markets took control of the free agent market, signed the big name players. That's just not realistic. We think that we've done a nice job with it right now, where we've set the market with these big markets. They lead the charge. It doesn't mean that they're always going to sign the big name free agent, but more often than not, they're going to lead the charge for the big names.
Now that sounds incredible. And then with these franchises, we have the big market teams, of course, but also on top of that, we're going to have some first mover advantage logic, Clayton, and that's going to really reward those clubs that seek out those free agents and give them their offers first thing into the offseason.
I mean, I love the fact we're still talking about the logic, that like we haven't even covered it all yet. So I hope the community loves all this stuff. We're not even done the list yet, but all this stuff is driving the new free agency system. So first mover advantage logic. I think everybody wants to be wanted. Free agents want to be wanted, you know. So, you know, if you make that first offer, if you take that step forward, we're going to reward you in motivation. This free agent's going to be more motivated to sign with you. And conversely, if you sit back and wait and let the market play out and you don't make that first offer, you know, free agents, you're going to get punished. They're not going to want to sign with you because you're not being aggressive. You're not aggressively pursuing them. They want to be pursued. They want to be wanted. They want to be wined and dined. So this is kind of that logic that's baked in there.
Yeah, and the logic stuff's just been incredible, what you guys have been able to do this cycle. And don't forget, fans, like you're going to be able to see this stuff live in a matter of minutes, just how all this new stuff's going to work, and we're really excited to share it with you. But let's keep talking through some of these other changes fans are going to see. Tim, Clayton, we have the offer rejection penalty logic. Let's talk more about this one.
Yeah, so on the opposite side of the first mover logic is the rejection penalty logic. And where that comes into play is you reach out to a free agent, you lowball them. And we all know that if a player's lowballed, they're not going to be happy with that contract offer, and it's going to upset them. And our logic is going to simulate that, because if you upset a player with a lowball offer, it's going to affect their motivation to sign with you in the future.
And Tim, the opposite side of that spectrum also exists this year with the opportunistic signing logic where some free agents will start to panic and then maybe we'll have some lower contract demands that can be met.
Yes, and that's one of the things we really wanted to see this year as well. Think about the guys like the Bregmans this year in the market. They held out for a while. February comes, starts to get desperation time. You'll start to see their demands lower, and this may be an opportunity for some teams that may be the smaller market teams to give that pillow contract for them to sign with them for a year or two.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you'll see, with our new system, you'll see some of these big free agents make it to later in the offseason, and you'll actually see their contract demands change, and maybe at that point, maybe they fit into your budget, or maybe they fit into your goal for creating your roster, so it's a fun little twist towards the end of the offseason.
Yeah, great stuff. A ton of new experiences that everyone's going to feel once they get their hands on this free agency mode. The depth that you guys have been able to put in is really going to be noticed.
As Carson has been saying, we will be experiencing these new depth logic improvements in just a matter of minutes on the dev kit. But Clayton, let's wrap it up here. Any last little bits and pieces with the depth logic for free agency?
I mean, we're not even done yet. Obviously, we're running out of time here, and we'll get into it on the live segment. But there's even stuff like previously you couldn't withdraw contracts. You can withdraw contracts now, but again, you're going to offend someone if you offer them a contract and withdraw it. So they're going to lose motivation for that. And really, it's a challenge, right? So previously, I think our free agency system, it wasn't a challenge and it wasn't fun and interesting, and you didn't have risk reward elements. And I mean, even the last run I did, I had probably 3 or 4 guys on my big board at some point. I ended up getting none of them, and I was frustrated, but it also made me happy because it was fun, because it was challenging.
This offseason, you're going to find out that, as Clayton mentioned, it can be frustrating, but it's going to be so enjoyable. As a Yankee fan, I'm playing through the offseason, and you're trying to, it's no longer just point, click, offer a contract. There's some strategy involved in it. And you're going to find out that the depth that we have, the logic that is there, it makes this experience just a great experience for anyone that wants to play the game and really dive into the offseason.
I think another thing we should hammer home is just the streamlined system, right? Previously, you'd have to pretty much check free agency every single day, and it was just cumbersome, and it would take time. We want you to get through seasons. We want you to get through off seasons. We love the off-season, free agency, all this stuff, and we want you to go in the future and do future years to build your teams, to build dynasties, and win World Series, So the streamlined approach is another thing we're excited about.
Before we start playing, which I'm so excited to do, let's dive real quickly into some of this new player logic stuff, Tim.
Yeah, so when we started this year, we really wanted to look at our player evaluation logic and how can we make free agents and players on the team replicate their value in real life. And one of the things that we did was we took contract and arbitration, and we tried to simulate the numbers and the values to be more close to real life than ever before. And we have models, we've ran numerous sims, numerous tests, we've looked at historical data for contracts, all that's played in part. So you'll see now first basemen have realistic contracts based on what their free agent market has been in the past, as well as shortstops. And there's also some wiggle room there. You'll also see now some contracts that may be inflated. Somebody really takes a flyer on someone, really goes above and beyond. So I think we're really, as a team, really proud of what we've come up with here for our contract and arbitration numbers. And it's going to be more closely resembling real life than ever before, especially our arbitration and contract numbers.
And then Tim, you've been hitting on this theme all throughout this feature premiere. We're trying to make the free agent logic, the player evaluation logic, as realistic to what's going on in real life, and as we're bringing it into our video game with even more logic with the new contract and arbitration. But that's not all in this topic. What about terms here with how long these contracts are?
So we did a lot of research on this, and we wanted to make our terms as realistic as possible. So you will no longer see those 34, 35, 36-year-old players looking for 6-7 year deals, and they shouldn't be signing those. But on the flip side, you will see those young superstar players looking for 9, 10, 11-year deals, and they'll get those in this new free agent system.
I mean, Tim, to your point, we're seeing opposite ends of the spectrum here. In real life, we see Soto snagging a 13-year deal, we see Christian Walker snagging a 3-year deal, and then we're going to see even more of that in franchise, in MLB The Show 25, of just how long or how short some of these contracts are going to be based off player age, what's the position availability or maybe not on the team as we're trying to attract different free agents to our franchise squads.
So as Tim was saying, we want realism, when it comes to the contract values with terms. The realism was important to us. And these pieces, like when we talk about player evaluation, these are all like foundational pieces that we continue to improve on. And every year we do work in these categories. It's very important to us. It makes contract negotiations better. It's going to make the trades better. We're already seeing trades that are way better than we've seen in the past. So these are all foundational pieces with the player evaluation.
Yeah, and like going into the player evaluation, realism still reigns supreme. I know you guys have done a lot of work improving the defensive war logic. Clayton, can you talk to me more about that?
Yeah, it's bothered me for a few years. I think we were seeing guys that aren't, like they don't have the range of other players, kind of getting rewarded with our defensive war logic. So we wanted to reward guys that can actually get to the ball and make plays that other players can't, So we reworked the logic there. We're seeing some good outcomes. Again, it affects player evaluations, it affects trades, it affects, contract negotiations. So we've improved this, and guys that are really good defensively, have really good range, can make the spectacular highlight reel plays, they're going to get rewarded.
And Clayton, it seems like we have a little bit of a theme going in MLB The Show 25. Just a couple of weeks ago for the gameplay feature premiere, our fans were able to listen from the gameplay team, see all the new defensive improvements. That defense is continuing to matter even more in MLB The Show 25, and that is no different for franchise in MLB The Show 25.
Oh, we're picking up right on that. Obviously, you make a diving spectacular play, and if you have this range that like a first baseman compared to a shortstop, typically first basemen don't have that range. So we don't want to reward them for, making all the plays when they're not making the spectacular plays. It should be a balance of both, but when you have that extra range, you can reach balls that other players can't reach. You should be rewarded for it, and you should see it in your defensive war.
All right, community, you hear it. Defense is mattering all throughout MLB The Show 25, but this isn't all for the player evaluation logic. Once again, fans, we will be playing this live on the couch in just a few minutes, but Tim, walk us through the upgraded trade metric logic.
So the theme has been so far this offseason is that contracts matter, and contracts matter with trade value as well. So if you look at some of the players that you see in the hot stove in real life, some contracts are difficult to move, and the reason they're difficult to move is their value from the war or from the perspective of the teams is lower than what the contract value is assigned. And we're replicating that much closer now than we've ever done. Our prospects will see their values to be much higher than they've been in the past, and we also see a knock to those players that are overvalued based on their contract logic that is overpaying them.
Yeah, you see a lot of immovable contracts now, and in the past we were probably seeing too many top prospects traded for essentially some of these older veterans on bad contracts. So we wanted to remedy that, and then on top of that, we have a two-way player trade metric system that we've introduced. So Ohtani is going to get his fair value, and then obviously through the amateur draft, you can find these two-way players, and you never know, you might get a generational two-way player like Ohtani. You're going to get his fair trade value if you decide to put him on the market.
Yeah, I mean, MLB The Show 25 franchise mode, you're going to get all this in free agency, more logic, smarter logic. It's going to feel even more real. There's going to be more depth than you've ever seen.
Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. Start with the good. I do like that the free agency stuff is harder, a little bit more realistic. You can't just go and sign everybody to a contract. You have to kind of pick and choose who you want to go after. I do like that side of it, right? Like, I do like this revamped approach that they're taking. I think that's going to be really cool. It's going to make the game more challenging, more realistic. And I'm going to have some fun with it, personally. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't even more skeptical after this feature premiere. They showed what they showed was great quality of life changes, great things that are should be in franchise. However, my worry is that they're trying to go too big too fast. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes it's the little things that you need to make a game great. Everything they added, I think, is good. But just having this as like the one big thing they add, I wonder if it's enough. Because we didn't see anything about roster sizes. We didn't see anything about, a custom draft league, which is something that I've been hammering since, or not a custom draft league, but a custom draft class, something that I've been hammering ever since that new draft system's been in the game for 3 years now. And the thing that really worried me is they talked about the new trade logic, but they almost like they refused to show it. And they didn't show it, even in the after part. And there were some other things like good questions that came up in the chat that they seemed to just be dodging. Now, I don't understand why they feel the need to dodge this stuff. It makes me very nervous. Like, I'll give you a couple of examples. People are always asking for online franchise. Personally, I could give two shits. I wouldn't play online franchise. I like to play just regular franchise. But there's a lot of people that want online franchise. It should be in the game. But if it's not this year, why can't they just say that? Why can't they just, once, you get like 30 of these questions of, hey, is online franchise in the game? Pipe up and say, hey, no, it's not in the game this year. Sorry about that. And move on. Like, they refuse, like, they intentionally dodge some of these questions. People were asking them to show the new trade logic repeatedly, and they didn't. Things like that, asking about, our contract opt-outs and things like that, and that came up so many times. They didn't touch it, and you can see them looking at the screen, and like you can see it in their eyes that they're skimming over these, and they're like, yeah, I'm not even going to touch that. And to me, that's what makes me nervous, right? Is that they refuse to touch some of these questions, and I've seen that in other weeks too, but being a franchise guy, I really noticed it this week, and it just makes me nervous. Is it enough? And I'm coming out of this with a mixed bag of emotions because, like I said, I am very excited for the things that we did see. I am very excited for the changes that are being made. But I am very nervous that things that we want and things that we need, once again, are left unaddressed with the emphasis being put on these new, bigger things, which, again, yes, this is great, but sometimes bigger isn't always better, right? Like, you gotta have the small quality of life, the little things to build it up and build it from the ground up, and it seems like a lot of these little things are being neglected, and that just, again, it makes me nervous. The one other thing that I really want to touch on the trade logic that makes me nervous, the fact that they wouldn't show the trade screen, the fact that we saw in the pre-record, I think it was that the Orioles traded for Julio Rodriguez. I didn't see who the return was for in the trade, but it's still that just felt very unrealistic to me, and I'm worried once again about trade logic because they say every year that it's improved and then it isn't. So again, because they didn't want to show it, we're going to have to get our hands on it to really see. But I really hope that they get it figured out because it's something that I want them to get figured out and then be able to move on and put that time and effort into some of these other little things we need. And yeah, so again, mixed bag, mixed emotions. Ultimately, I am excited for what we're getting, but I'm nervous for the things that we're probably not getting. And once again, our cries are going unheard. But hopefully it's better than last year, and hopefully next year is better than this year. As always, I'm cautiously optimistic. At the end of the day, I'm a baseball fan. At the end of the day, I'm going to buy this game and play it every year because right now, other than Professional Spirits out of Japan, there really is no alternative to this. So that's the other thing, that maybe some competition, maybe like EA or 2K getting back in the game would strengthen it up because competition is healthy. So I don't know. I'm ready for a good franchise experience. I don't know what we're going to see this year. Obviously, I'll be diving into it on the channel once I get my hands on the game. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, help me get into that algorithm, subscribe, help us get to that 500 subscribers by the All-Star break. Again, thank you so much for getting me past 200. You guys went above and beyond, and I love you all for it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.